Ah, Ireland, a country full of beautiful landscapes, great accent, and lovely beers. Well, not that long ago, the country had one of the highest litter rates, making walking without encountering garbage close to impossible. Fortunately, policymakers introduced a plastic bag tax, which helped Ireland regain its beautiful nature. Let's take a deeper look to find out how they did it. The Irish plastic bag levy was introduced in March 2002. It's a product tax of 15 cents per plastic bag. Unlike other taxes, this tax is not paid by the industry. Instead, it is a downstream tax that consumers have to pay at a point of sale. In 2007, the tax was raised to 22 cents. However, it does not apply to all plastic bags. There are some exceptions. For instance, it does not apply to small bags that are solely used to block or separate food for hygiene purposes, at the butcher, for instance. The Irish plastic bag tax is not a Pigouvian tax, as the government did not consider the marginal damage cost caused by plastic bags. Instead, the consumer-based tax was chosen to raise awareness for the environmental impact of plastic bags and to send a strong price signal to consumers. This is why the Irish government determined the tax rate using the marginal willingness to pay for plastic bags. The tax exceeds the willingness to pay, inducing the consumers to reconsider whether they really need a plastic bag and induce a shift in behavior on the consumer side. The main goal of the tax was not to raise revenue, but to change the consumption behavior through a price signal. The reporting and collection of the tax were incorporated into the VAT reporting system. All revenues flow towards an environmental fund that explicitly uses the money for administration costs and to fund other environmental projects. The per-levy consumption of plastic bags amounted to roughly 1.2 billion. Since its introduction, its consumption dropped by 94%. Similarly, the number of cleared areas, defined as the areas in which there is no evidence of plastic bag litter, increased by 21% in just under a year. Additionally, according to the National Litter Pollution Monitoring System, the plastic bag litter accounting for 1% of national litter composition before the introduction of the levy and dropped to 0.22% 2 years after introduction. Florine DOMINGUEZ, a reporter on site, went interviewing local expert Professor de SCHAETZEN to hear his expertise on the effectiveness and consequences of the tax levy.
Professor de SCHAETZEN, could you tell us a little bit more about how this tax came into existence?
Yeah, so I would say that the minister's personal commitment seems to have been the strongest factor in getting the principle of a plastic bag levy introduced in practice. The retail industry initially proposed a voluntary take-back scheme, but once it was clear that the government was determined to proceed with the levy, the lobbying focused on the implementation part. And actually, the extensive consultation with the main stakeholders, such as the retail industry, the local authorities, and of course the consumers, was key for the successful implementation of the levy. And similarly, the fact that all revenues would go towards funding other environmental projects, as well as an extensive advertisement campaign, significantly increased the consumer acceptance.
Thank you. In your opinion, was this tax really relevant to reducing the plastic bag pollution?
So actually, to the specific problem, I would say, of plastic bag pollution, yeah, the instrument was very well targeted because it applies only to plastic bags and greatly reduces its use. However, it does not address the greater problem of environmental pollution, as plastic bags only make up 5% of the litter in Ireland before the tax was introduced. So, in my distinct opinion, a complete ban on plastic bags could have been a more effective measure. Like the government could, for example, have prescribed a 5-year period where the tax would be applied before permanently banning it, leaving enough time for the industry to come up with alternatives. Because, in the end, plastic pollution, a plastic pollution-free world is not a choice, but a commitment to life, a commitment to the next generations.